Oh my goodness, my friends, you all are in for such a treat today. I'm constantly getting asked, where's Courtney? Where's your dear sweet wife? She's amazing. I want to see her more. So guess what? I have convinced her to come on the podcast. And what I love about this podcast episode is that we are going in depth on our entire journey. So for everyone that asks, like, how did Tanner and Courtney end up building Makers Gonna Learn? How did we end up where we are today? How did we do it? And we're not even 25. Courtney just turned 25. We're covering that in today's podcast. It is going to be so good. So if you love this, you are going to want to stick around. If you want to know our story, we talk all the way back to like 2012 when we met online, how we met in person, how we continued to work together. I mean, it is incredible. Y'all, you're going to love this interview. It's so raw. It's so real. And I really want you to stick around and hang out with us. Feel free to just put us in your ears, put your earbuds in, and enjoy this first episode of the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. So if you're excited, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more Cricut, crafting, and podcasting. See you guys soon. Courtney, welcome to the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be your first.
You're my first guest. This is the first time
podcast you're recording.
The absolute first time we're recording here.
Whew.
Do you wish we made the studio a little bit bigger?
I love small spaces, so honestly, I have no complaints.
Y'all,
I think it's perfect.
We have specifically stashed as much stuff in this tiny, tiny room as possible. But we're gonna have really good conversations here.
Yeah, on this beautiful set.
Oh.
I mean, if I do say so myself, this is the nicest podcast set I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it has been. I mean, Courtney and her team
a labor of love.
Cut each piece of wood and glued it and drilled it. How did you end up securing this to the wall?
Wood glue and nail gun. And then some hot glue and some super glue. And there actually is a, what's it called? Electrical box panel behind there. And so there's like a door.
It was a labor of love.
You shouldn't be able to tell.
No, it looks really, really good. I love it. I love the moodiness of this. It's very different. We're gonna have so many good conversations in the studio, so I'm so excited.
Unfiltered conversations.
Unfiltered. Well, the whole reason, just for everyone watching, the whole reason we're doing Unfiltered is because for the past 5 years, we've only had conversations that are really based around crafting. So when you're having conversations only around crafting, I feel like you're always staying so on topic, and there's never any room to have any other conversation. So to kick off, to kick off the podcast, we are going to really focus in on talking to pretty much the whole team, which I think is cool for people.
Everyone's going to get their own little spotlight.
Everyone's getting a spotlight. Everyone's getting how they started. But the number one thing people constantly say about you is, oh my gosh, I love
so
Courtney. Yeah, they talk about how gorgeous you are and how adorable you are. But what they really ask, they're like, where's Courtney? We love Courtney. We want to see more of Courtney. So what would you say before we dive into anything? I feel like that's the elephant in the room for you. Like, where are you all the time?
In my bed, 12 hours a day.
No. Where?
Maybe 10.
No. Where do you play a part here? Because you do work here. Yeah. I think people are confused about that. If you all didn't know, we're married. We'll get there. We're going to go back after we address this. But what part do you play here?
Well, I believe my title right now is creative director, but I also like to play a couple other roles. I personally think my favorite title is integrator, which is like a buzzword in the business community. But I really feel like it kind of encapsulates what I do. Yeah.
I definitely think so.
So another way you could describe that is I have to take Tanner's crazy ideas and make them a reality on his unrealistic timelines.
there's quite a bit of unrealistic timelines.
Yes, everything he wants done, he wants it done yesterday. And that's my deadline. So working on yesterday's deadline.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. I think we've gotten a lot better about it.
I actually am working on a project that's not due for like 2 whole weeks.
That's insane.
I know.
I feel like we're running like a real corporation.
Yeah.
Like, who are we?
It feels that way.
It is not, this is not
I mean, the
common.
project is probably going to take 2 weeks. So it's really a good thing that I have these 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So when you say integrator, just for anyone that is like, what does that even mean? Do you want to talk a little bit more about like what that would look like?
Yeah. So I already tried to describe it.
Well, let's use it. Let's use our latest project. So we had a project that was all about, we went to a conference, and at the conference, there was a lot of new ideas of like getting, turning your virtual business into getting
physical product
Yeah.
business, but not like just flat out selling physical products.
Right. Like it was this whole like new strategy that I thought, oh my gosh, like our customers love to touch, feel, and adore like their tools.
Yes.
So you took that.
So as an integrator, and I think that, well, I'll go back to that thought actually. I like take on new projects that we haven't done before and try to figure them out, like sourcing and sales pages and like
the tech stack, logistics.
Yeah, logistics. How are we gonna do that? What's the price point? How do we afford this? Like,
because we're
budget this in.
There was a lot of money spent. But there was no process. So like you're having to figure out like what the process should be, like
and then,
how this works.
Honestly, I think that the process, like me creating the process, is basically my whole job, because I can't take on all of these new jobs and then, because I need to have room for your next idea. So like I figure out the process and then kind of train somebody to do that process. So I still have some irons in the fire on this one, but maybe in a couple months, a year, I won't be the one even placing the orders with the
if we even keep the idea. Yeah, I mean, this could be shot down in like 3 to 6 months. Like we could be like, you know what?
But I mean, so far it's going really well. Like, what was it, October? I think we were telling my mom that we had like $15,000 worth of product. And like, that's so unusual for our business.
Yeah.
Normally we don't have to take on really any financial risk to launch a new product or test out a new idea. Yeah. I mean, just time,
energy, effort.
I mean, sometimes you have to like get supplies or a new like online software kind of thing. And so, but nothing costs $15,000. And so I was like, this is nerve-wracking because it's so different, but we've sold them all, so
it's all gone. She was just recently here, and we're telling her like we have nothing. Yeah, which was funny. Unfortunately, we had nothing. Fortunately and unfortunately, because it's a new thing, so we didn't know when we should have reordered. Yeah, so I think a lot of people at home always think like, oh my gosh, I just want to see Courtney on camera more. But I mean, if you were on camera more, you wouldn't have new stuff. Like, you don't have a new website that I spent months on. That could be a whole podcast. And now I feel like I need to go back and revisit that project and fine tune it and improve certain areas of the website. So now that we understand like what you do here, I feel like it's going to be it's an interesting perspective. Like I think people just assume like it gets done. I don't know if I paint a picture like on video and things like that I'm doing it all. I'm not. Like, just to be clear for a lot of people, my only job here, I say only, is, for an integrator in what they refer to as a visionary relationship. I am to strategize, lead. I lead a lot of the team and like the hiring and I feel like my main job is the relationship, similar to my relationship with the customer. I have to have just as a deep relationship with the team. So I am pretty much in charge of all of HR, of like bringing people in, what is their role, where is their puzzle piece, but then developing the curriculum and teaching and being on camera is like pretty much my only part in the business, because that's where I can shine the most. That's where I can make the most impact. That's where there's the most change. Recently we turned a course into a membership coaching program, which is insane. That's another one, a great example of something we, pivoted, and we realized like, oh my gosh, people are not getting the value that they need out of this course. What can we do to see more transformation? So
and do it yesterday.
And do it yesterday, because people are like needing this. So what we did was we turned Design Make Sell, which was a huge, it is a giant curriculum. There's tons of training. It's unlike anything here on the YouTube channel or anything. And we turned it into a coaching program really quickly. And it was an unbelievable success. It was amazing, and we're still loving it. And the transformation we've seen there in 45 days has been more than we
for sure. Yeah, the
had
community
seen.
there,
Unbelievable, totally different. So yeah, trying to lead the vision and the ideas there has just been huge, and just taking care of and managing the people. Also deal with a lot of the financials, but the main part is really the content. So I don't do anything else really.
Yeah. But we have an awesome content team as well.
Yes.
It doesn't all fall on your shoulders.
No, I'm like mainly on camera for like 8 to 10 hours, I would say, a week, between like coaching and like lives and recording and podcasts and all that. So now that we know like what each of us do on the team, just so that people know that like just because you're not on camera doesn't mean you don't work here, which I think is sometimes like the persona we see.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like most people see me, Alicia, Lauren, and Sadie's producing, they know, but there's 20 people at this organization, or more if we had an accurate count. I don't know. But that's not how it started. So I thought today's podcast, we could actually go back. We could take a pause on our beautiful business we've built and rewind to, actually, I think I want to go all the way back to 2012. Because 2012, I think, is when we actually met.
2012.
I think we met online.
Yeah.
We met in person in 2013, but that was a year after
it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a year after we started talking online that we physically met.
Okay.
So let's go back to 2012. Just so everyone can paint a really good picture of like 2012. Each of us, Courtney's Facebook profile picture was a Create a Critter zebra. Her profile picture on Facebook.
Out of cardstock. Well, probably
cardstock. You had cardstock.
On my 6-inch Cricut machine.
You didn't even have the expression?
Probably. I don't know. I started with that one, and I had it for.
That's like when people buy Cricut
6
Joy
before I got the expression.
That's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so you're in 2012. You
I was in 8th grade.
Okay, so then I was in 7th grade?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I don't want to go back this far.
Were you in 7th grade?
That's a different conversation.
Okay.
That's a different conversation. It was my first year being online homeschooled. Online school, but at home. Yes. So it's 2012. If you all didn't know, had been online now 2 years posting videos almost every day. My heart and passion since 2010 has been posting videos. I was at the current time selling acrylic stamps, and
but for some reason I was buying.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that. So in 2012, how did you? I think the first time I saw you was when you were at Robin Cardin's house.
Okay.
Which I didn't even I didn't even connect the dots that was you on the live stream at her house, and then
really?
You messaged me on Facebook. Like I think it took a while to connect the dots. And I was like, well, are you Robin's niece? Like what? Like cousin? Distant relative?
Stalker?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Robin is a Stampin' Up! Icon. Oh, yeah. I think she's like #1 in their company.
At the very top.
Yeah. She had been posting videos online of making handmade cards for years, like 2008.
And she had trademarked her own methods of applying ribbon to cards. That's the kind of icon we're talking about.
Yeah, she definitely takes care of her.
The cheater method. It's a good method.
That's how I made all my cards.
Me too.
Of course. The easiest way.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Okay, so it's 2012. How did we meet?
I feel like it's so funny. You asking questions that you like know the answer to.
That's why I can lead into the question.
I feel like you have Alzheimer's. You're like, how did we meet? Why am I married to you? But
I just think there's so much value in like your perspective of it rather than just like
I understand that it's just a weird thing. I feel like in a podcast, but I'll get over it. How did we meet? Well, I would watch little Tan's videos, and eventually I ordered his stamps because they were for dogs, and I just have a passion for dogs.
Courtney really
don't like dogs.
Courtney has
actually,
no desire for dogs.
I don't think I ever opened the stamps, but
interesting. That's okay.
I had to have them all for some reason.
Thank you.
And then, I bought some old ink pads that you had used before.
No, they were brand new.
Oh,
you
okay.
bought new ink pads.
Okay,
I just sold them in my shop.
Oh.
But how did we start talking online?
Right. So, I got a Facebook, I guess, for the first time under my dad's email address.
Ooh, thanks, Jim.
And I messaged you, but I don't really know like what the first thing I said to you was.
I don't know.
I do remember that Facebook used to have a count of how many messages.
If you scrolled to the top, or it's like loading 12,452.
Yeah,
we kept a
something
good
like
count.
that. Yeah. And I think it got up to like the hundreds of thousands of messages, but by the time the like thing went away, the counter went away.
It was a lot of messages.
But maybe I don't know if this was the first thing, but I did offer to organize your categories on your blog because you were so disorganized.
Yeah, there was no organization on the blog. It was a team of one.
Like, I'm trying to find all of your stuff, but I can't even find it. Could I help you?
Yeah, I was a hot mess. And I think that was actually the beginning of our visionary integrator relationship, as well as.
But do you think that's the first thing I said to you?
No.
Did we talk about like blog hops and stuff?
There was months of like chatting about paper. I remember like we'd be like, oh my gosh, like did you know this cardstock is like 50% off? Like you should get this like
6-inch paper pads. Those were my jam because they were so cheap, but you could get so many different patterns.
But you really could only use like one sheet per card, really.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't want to make a bunch of cards of the same pattern, so I liked that about it.
So we would talk about that. I remember talking about cards.
Your uncle was in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
So we talked about that a lot.
My poor great uncle.
Yes.
Poor guy. So I remember talking about all of that, and then.
Do you want me to tell you when I realized we were actually friends?
How? Ooh, I actually love when I can realize when I'm actually friends with someone. What was it for you?
Okay, so for me, it's a very specific memory.
Wow.
It was around Thanksgiving time, I think, and the way I remember this is that we would rearrange my house for Thanksgiving because we had so many guests, and so our dining table was in our living room at the time, and I was sitting there studying for some kind of test.
Yeah.
And I was eating Laffy Taffies. And I sent you a picture of these Laffy Taffies that I was eating. And you were, at the hospital. And so you said, oh my gosh, I think I want some Laffy Taffies. And you went to the cafeteria.
I went to the gift shop.
And got yourself some Laffy Taffies. And I was like, wow, like maybe we're really like friends.
Maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I felt like I was influencing you.
Ooh.
Or something that.
And then if y'all only knew, like Courtney and her family has influenced me a lot in a lot of ways, which has been beautiful.
We introduced you like cheese sticks, like sticks of cheese.
So we talked online for a year. There was a time period somewhere in between this that I realized you were actually not 35. Because most of my customers were like stay-at-home moms that made paper crafts and like cards, and like that's just who I talked to. Like,
right. And I didn't have a picture.
No pictures.
But I think that there was I think the conversation, I don't remember at what point it happened. I remember. That you asked me like what I was doing or something, and
You're
I
like,
said I was like
"Homework."
studying or doing homework or something. You're
"Are
like,
you
oh,
in
did you go back
college?"
to school?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm in 8th grade. You're like, no
way.
way.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And I like, to me, I was like, how did you not know that? But like, because I knew so much about you from watching your videos.
Yeah.
But you really didn't know
I knew
anything about
nothing.
me.
I knew nothing, which is interesting.
But
because
you
I
would still
feel-
reply.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There.
Which Tanner replies to everyone.
I have. I don't know why. I feel very strongly. I can't not respond to text messages.
That's one of my gifts.
I mean, it's really interesting that you even messaged me first. Like, in my opinion.
Well, yes, I feel like I had a different perspective on like replying to people back then. Like I mean, I didn't have a cell phone, I don't think.
Yeah,
Or
but also it
maybe-
was like our hobby. Like, you didn't know anyone else
I
that
didn't
paper
know.
crafted.
Yeah, right. So I was, looking for someone
Yeah.
to connect with, and also I don't know. I'm trying to think if like I saw you as like I feel like I saw you as like super successful before, like we got
In
closer.
our little craft until you realized my entire life. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, sure.
And then I also thought that you like lived underneath a store.
That's a whole other story. It's just the
Or
southern
above
slang.
a store.
Yeah, I would be like,
something.
I'm going down to I would go on a walk, like
down a hill.
But
he said,
out of my neighborhood.
I'm going to the store below my house. And so I would just imagine him like walking down a staircase into a store.
No, I was literally leaving my neighborhood, walking down. I mean, it was over a mile away. Like, it's just down below my house. Like, that's just what I said.
In my basement.
No. So yeah, that was interesting. And then I'm trying to think. There was a time, I think even before we met, that my friend Kendall, and I'll have to have her on the podcast to talk about this. She knew that we were going to be romantically involved before I even did, which was interesting. I guess because I talked about you all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I was like, Kendall, what are you talking about? She's like, Tanner, there's something here. So anyway.
I do remember we would look on like Zillow and try to find 2 houses for sale in the same neighborhood.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember that. But I'm sure it happened.
Yeah.
It was very weird. Okay, so then your mom calls me one day in like almost like 10 months of us talking, and she's like, "Hey, I'm Courtney's mom." I'm like, "Hi, Courtney's mom." Super nerve-wracking. And she's like, "So I heard you are going to a trade show. Courtney would love that for Christmas. I would love to bring her. Is that cool?" So then we like coordinated, and this is the craziest thing to me in the story. Like, this is, in my opinion, the pivotal moment, like for the whole families. I don't think I've ever met someone. So Courtney's mom invited us to like lunch, like as a thank you, like before the show, like we're in LA.
At the Grove.
Yeah, we were at the Ivy.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I mean, she found the place.
She wanted to see the celebrities.
She wanted to see celebrities, so she found us an amazing place. It's called the Ivy. Look it up. Y'all, this was insane. Such great food, but also meeting you. Courtney's mom is notorious to not tell your dad or fill him in on a lot of stuff. It's actually really funny. But he had no idea that he was meeting strangers today.
Yeah,
when he woke
until
up.
he was walking from the car to the restaurant. He was like, "Oh, by the way,
I've invited
we're having lunch with Tanner and Sally."
Allie." So that was just funny to know after the fact. But what was so interesting was somehow we ended up hanging out that entire day. It was like 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
Of like
Every activity, you're like, well, what are we going to do next?
Yeah. It was crazy. So we went from the Ivy, our lunch. Courtney's mom also thought I was a cancer patient because I wore a beanie, and I just left the beanie on, and I guess you couldn't see my hair. It was January in LA, so it's not that warm, especially
like you don't need a winter hat.
I thought I was really cool. Anyway, I wasn't. But we went from the Ivy, we went to the Grove, we ended up on like
the Wax Museum.
The Wax Museum, which is like seeing all of like the stars.
Talking in anthropology.
Oh my gosh. So we hung out that whole day, and I feel like that was the pivotal moment where we're like, oh my gosh. Like, I have this one picture of all of us there, and I'm like, holy cow, a decade Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane. So that was really
fun.
cool. We went to the conference. This is so funny at the conference too. So me and Courtney both had separate craft blogs, and everyone we met had more than one blog.
True.
So then we came home and we were like, you know what? We should do something together. Like,
Yeah, because it was a thing to have like a joint blog in addition to your
solo
personal
blog, like your personal blog,
yeah.
you know, like this is one thing.
And
but
maybe sometimes that was like more niched. Like
Yeah.
if you found two people that really liked,
Dollar Tree Crafts.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
for example, then like you would post all your Dollar Tree crafts on there, but you would post all of your other crafts
Yes.
on your other blog.
Yes. I think we had a friend that specifically had the Dollar Tree Crafts. Heather Mann, love her. Alexa Westerfield had 2 blogs, and she had different niches. I mean, a lot of our friends, like it was a really common denominator of like, okay, like this is just what you do. It's kind of important for the story. I was going through such a terrible personal life stuff. So I was really interested at such a young age to really figure out how to make money online. So somehow, after we left the conference, me and Courtney were definitely wanting to make a blog. Did you pick the name of the blog?
I can't remember.
It was a littlecraftinyourday.com. You can still check it out. It
Still makes us money.
Still makes us a few pennies. I looked recently. I'll have to tell you after how much we made last year. It was very sad.
I mean, we didn't work for it at all.
That's right. That's right. But it's just still very sad. Not what I thought it would be. Anyway, it's fine. So we kind of knew what angle we wanted, but then we didn't really know the niche. Like, it was just going to be crafts, like crafts in general. Like, it was going to be a very general craft blog. We wanted a lot of traffic to it. We wanted it to be very general. And at the same time, at the conference, we met a lady named Margot Potter, who I love and adore. She arguably was the first person to tell me I could make a full-time living online.
Oh, really?
Specifically, like one-to-one, like to me. So I invited her to dinner, and she was like, Tanner, here's how you're going to make a full-time living through crafting. And I was like, because that's what she did. And she was like, this is what you should do. She's like, you need to leverage what you have. And for a lot of us at home, like, we got to leverage what we got. And for me at the time, it wasn't a lot. So she said, you need to go all in on teen crafts. And I was like, well, did you know, Margot, me and Courtney was launching a new blog. She's like, this will be great.
Yeah. So that was our
crafts.
niche.
Boom. A little craft in your day, focusing on teen crafts.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And we did it. And then for some reason, we started another blog.
Oh, we were ready to become an empire.
Yeah.
We were going to become a
Except
content
we weren't really ready.
empire. No, not at all. We were ready.
Crafting.com.
Crafting.com.
I don't know why we felt the need, but.
Do you remember we really also wanted to get into cooking? Do you remember that short spin?
But that was years later.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But anyway, so we launched the blog together in March 28th of 2013.
Sure.
Sounds right. And it took us, it's actually really interesting. It took us just a few months to make our first $100 through ads.
Yeah.
I remember, this is kind of where I want to take the story. Anyway, your mom actually invited me to your house. So how did that come about that your mom invited me to Philly?
I do believe that we were on our way to Home Goods at the time, and she was like, I was probably talking about you or saying something.
I'm sure you talked about me a lot.
Yeah, she was probably also annoyed. But she said, well, do you think you would want to come like visit this summer? And I was like, I don't know. What do you mean? Like, what would his mom do? And like, are they both going to come stay at our house? And like, what would we even do? And she's like, well, I don't know. I think people like teenagers fly by themselves sometimes, and maybe he could just come and hang out with you and craft and see Pennsylvania. I was like, well, I'll ask him. And so I think I texted you like while I was still on my way to Home Goods and asked you, and you were like, let me ask my mom, and probably said yes by the time I was shopping. But yeah.
Wow. So in March, or I guess April or May sometime, we planned a trip for me to go.
In June.
For
1 week.
For 1 week. It was like 5 to 6 days, I think. And that was really nerve-wracking. I was so nervous to fly by myself. And like little did I know I would become very accustomed to flying to Philadelphia. But yeah, it was so weird. Full disclosure, I had never left, like I'd never not been at home. Like I didn't do sleepaway camp. I didn't go on field trips. I was very closed
But
off.
you had traveled before. Like
I traveled.
the conference.
Yeah, just for
And
work.
yeah.
Like really just.
That's the only reason you went on a plane.
Yeah.
But you would go to the beach and drive.
Yeah, we would drive to the beach. Like we used to do like an annual trip to the beach, and I'd never really flew on planes. I'd never traveled by myself. I was also like 14.
Yeah.
Like looking back, it was a very pivotal moment, I think, for me in general. I also didn't have a lot of money at all. I'll have to do a whole podcast on like where I was, so you can like watch this back and forth, because Courtney doesn't want to sit here to go through all of that. But it was just a really hard season for me and my mom, financially, mentally, spiritually, like whatever it is. Like it was really interesting, like how nice of a blessing it was to meet you and your family.
Be able to get away for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. But it also just felt like very guilty to like leave and like, all the things. Yeah. So it was really interesting to like, I think, get out of my bubble of like what I'm going through. Cause when you're in a really hard time, like it's hard to ever imagine you being out of it. Yeah. You're like, this is just my circumstance is like just where I'm at. I'm here in the circumstance and I like, I'm drowning. So like when I left and got to, go to your house or, just the time on the airplane or, anything to be like, oh my gosh, people are functioning like humans, like people are successful. Like, you know what I mean? They're not like, it was just unbelievable to see, just a normal family, to be honest. Like it was just really interesting. I would, share stories and, you would just always be blown away at like, the dynamics in our family compared to your family,
and just Southern culture
in general, yes, is so different.
Yeah.
I really, for you, just the culture of Philadelphia, being up north is so, it was a lot of shock. It was,
for you?
For me, it was a lot of wow. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. It was different. It was really cool. But yeah, that trip we
had some things like lined up.
We
had a checklist.
Mm-hmm. We went to New York City. We went to the Jersey Shore. We went somewhere else in like all in one trip, which was interesting. And we also was working. Like that was when we logged on to our ad account and we saw we had made our first $100. And because you had to hit the $100 threshold before they could send you a check. Right. So this was big for us. Yeah. It was at a partner called media.net, a very low-end publisher of ads, but only one we got approved for, and that's where we started. By then, we hadn't did any sponsored partnerships. So for anyone that's like, how do you make money crafting normally? The way we do it now is so different, and we'll talk about that soon in the story. We were ready for brand partnerships because that is how
the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal. Like, ad revenue is kind of like icing on the cake, or like, ads usually is enough to pay for like your domain and your hosting and like, nothing. It's not really for my older friends that were doing this full time. Their ads probably wasn't paying their mortgage. What was paying their mortgage and their bills to make it a full-time salary, it was brand partnerships. Mm-hmm. So, Courtney, when you like did my like goals, because I know you were in school, I was homeschooled at the time, which meant I worked a lot. Like I would wake up and work. Like school was definitely for me number 2, maybe number 3 in my priority list. Again, I'll share more about that on another episode. But what was it for you? Like, did you think the financial goals were like scary? Were you like all for it? Did you really care? Like, what was the motivator, I guess? Because we worked insanely hard. Courtney would be up until like 3 a.m. working.
Yeah. See, I try to think about that, and I honestly like can't pinpoint it, which is kind of like unfortunate. I don't know. Like I've thought a lot about it, and I guess I just like really liked to work.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I mean, it was so fun.
I really didn't need the money,
No.
but it was cool to see that like I could do something
Yeah.
and get paid. Like,
Yeah.
because I had never experienced that before. Like,
And y'all, one thing that was really fascinating with Courtney and just the whole journey is we would be earning thousands and thousands of dollars, and I would still have to talk Courtney off the ledge of like, you know, Joann's is hiring. I want to go work at Joann's. I'm like, honey, you just made like $75 an hour working at home. and not only do you get paid now, we're getting paid, you know, every day after.
I forgot about
But
that.
you
I
had
looked at jobs
all the
listings
time.
all the time.
All
And
the
Tanner
time.
is always the reason that. Well, Tanner and my mom was like, you don't want to be there late at night.
Yeah,
Close the store
we
down.
had, Eileen and I, Courtney's mom, had such different goals for you, which was really fascinating. How?
So like I would just kind of submit to what anybody else thought my goals should be.
Interesting.
Kind of like when you had a goal, I could just get on board.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which I feel like you've gotten so much better of like figuring out what you really want.
yes,
which has
in,
been cool.
in very recent years, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Back
fascinating.
then, and I was just like, okay, well, like, let's see if you're right, kind of, and like, I'll do the work and we'll see if it
We'll
turns
see.
out. But like, you had a lot more on the line than I did
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, just for anyone, I don't really have anywhere that I've went in depth on this, so I plan on doing this on the podcast. But the reason I had such a desire to earn money wasn't for the fact of earning money. It was the fact of, you know, at the same time, some things had happened where my mom wasn't working. There was a lot of uncertainty there. She was very depressed. It'd be cool for her to actually talk about that if she would. But, you know, I felt like it was my responsibility to make sure our house was like we had a home, like, you know, so I had very big financial goals
yeah.
at 14. And by the grace of God, I mean, we were able to do that. And we were able to make it happen.
Yeah.
But it was really fascinating for you where
I just saved it all.
you saved it all. And then let me tell you, y'all, comparing bank accounts after a year of work was just so hard for me. Because almost every dollar I earned did go to bills or living or, you know, anything. So it was really humbling. I think a lot. Courtney definitely helped out a lot in that. But what did your family really think about like you working, us building a blog? I mean, from your perspective, how was that perceived?
I think that they were like excited for me or glad that I finally found something that like I was super into because my whole life they would try to put me, I mean they did put me in like ballet or soccer or swimming, and I absolutely hated all of them. Like would cry every season as the season started, please don't make me do it. And then I would do it, and I mean I did it, I don't know, I want to say wasn't like miserable doing it, but I didn't have any of my own desire to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that lasted like through my freshman year of college. I still had to play sports. I still had to play
your freshman year of college.
Sorry, high school. So sorry, high school. Yes.
That's funny.
So that was like a couple years into it, and we were.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I
we
don't
were
remember
working
you.
a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember you playing sports.
I had to take the bus to the games and all of it.
That's so funny thinking
Yeah.
about your parents making you do that now.
Yeah. My coach would be like, "Does anybody want to take
Sit
a
out
time out?"
today?
I'm like,
Me.
she's like, "No, not you again."
That's so funny. I find it really fascinating about like what other people thought about it because at the time, it's hard to pinpoint like we would be working with brands like Velcro. I remember landing a really good gig for us with Velcro. I remember us landing, a lot of different gigs. I mean, we were booked.
Did, well, I got a gig for like teen girl influencers.
Yes, with Procter and Gamble.
Procter and Gamble, yes. But that was maybe around my junior year.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really, didn't know what Procter and Gamble was more than they were going to sponsor me. And so
your mom sure did.
I had e-signed the contract or whatever without even like telling my parents or anything that I had applied, that I got it, because I don't know, I just did it all on my own or whatever. Not that they wouldn't be supportive, but
we had work to do. These contracts, if there's a contract there, we're
reviewing.
Sign it immediately. You're getting it back to them. You're getting the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to my mom later that night. She's like, well, what did you do today? I was like, well, I did get a contract and I signed it. She's like, oh, who are you working for now? I mean, it was very normal that I would get a contract.
Normal.
And they weren't always long-term contracts. Sure. They were like one-off.
We would also sign a contract for a $300 partnership of an Instagram post or a blog post or anything.
Yeah, but Procter & Gamble was more long-term.
It was it was a 6 to 8 month contract, maybe a year.
I don't,
because they sent you boxes every quarter, and it was a lot.
Mm-hmm. I still use a lot of those products. Not that I've had to reorder them.
Sure.
But I was like, it's called P&G Procter & Gamble. She's like, I just remember her hitting the floor. She's like, you're going to work for Procter & Gamble now. Oh, okay. I mean, that's normal. She would always kind of make jokes.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. So we were doing this for 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17. So at 2017, it was, you had started college. Mm-hmm. At the time.
I started college. Yeah, 2016.
2016. But you were in college. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of contracts. We were working. I was about to graduate high school myself. And we had a 6-figure contract for a paint company that spanned over 2 years. But it was really steady income. It was unbelievable. Such a blessing. And I had started trying to do other media, as more of an agency work. And
building websites, making videos, managing their Facebook, social media.
Yeah. It was trying. I really had this thought that I couldn't make money in crafts. That I had to take the skill that I had. I had to take an unfair advantage and move into another industry. Obviously, a limiting belief now. Crafts can be beautiful and amazing. But yeah, in 2017, how did you feel? Because we had a successful craft blog. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of expenses with the blog because with everything, we had a full-time employee, we had a part-time photographer, there was, but we had a lot of content to make every week.
Yeah, we couldn't really have done it on our own.
No.
With everything we had going
on. I was still not out of my personal struggles. They were still pretty present, in the family side. How would you describe, from your perspective, and then I can share mine, on the thoughts that I had about, I guess I'll share this first. I had a desire, we had close to 1 million page views a month on our blog. But I didn't feel like we knew the customer. We had the views, we had the partnerships, but there became a time that I was like, I want to know my customer. And I remember it so strongly at the depths of my being. I was like, I don't want to just see a Google Analytics, 500,000, 600,000, what have you, of people that's on the site, and I don't feel like I know them. I would rather have 500 people that I feel like I know really good. Yeah. And that, for me, was the start, before I even knew it, of Makers Gonna Learn.
Mm-hmm. So are you asking me, did I have those same
thoughts?
thoughts?
Did you have the feelings? What did you think when I started talking and this other, because I feel like there was a slow shift. It was all, so many things happened at once.
Yeah. I don't feel like I had the same thoughts. Honestly, I think I was so into it and in my mind, I was like, we're doing it right. This is how blogging is supposed to feel.
Yes.
And then I do remember you started working for a die cut company, Sizzix, on their electronic die cut. And I was pretty adamant that you didn't work for them because I didn't feel like it's aligned with our teen craft blog.
Yeah.
Because teenagers weren't going to buy
$400 machine. Yeah.
And so then when you started talking to Cricut at first, I had the same mindset. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is working.
Yeah.
Teen crafts are working. Why are you going to change that?
Yeah.
Like, before we had this teen craft niche, it wasn't working.
Sure.
So why are you going away from that? And so I was just kind of like, I mean, I didn't feel like my business or like was at risk. I wasn't like that gung ho.
Courtney also,
I was kind of like, go ahead and see, but I know that's not gonna work out. But you can find that out for yourself.
But I have to say, at the same time, Courtney, you started landing some contracts that were like really good for sewing.
Yeah.
And those were really, it's actually really funny to look back because we had a lot of momentum in the blogging niche. So like telling the story again, like to me, I could argue that I could have fixed what I thought was my problem by cutting my expenses and thrived. I think for me, you
didn't get the enjoyment that you needed. I don't think
I was not. No, I was not.
Like I personally loved.
Yeah.
Like making the crafts, writing the post, doing exactly what the sponsor wanted us to say, and how could I weave that in? And I enjoyed that part, but you didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
I
it was easier for you to look for something different than it was for me. And also another mindset thing at this time, I don't know if I would have said this out loud maybe, but I feel like at least subconsciously, maybe consciously, and I could ask my friends and stuff if I would say this. I think that I thought once I graduated that I would get a job, a boring 9-to-5 job that I didn't. I mean, I wanted to find something that I would enjoy and not hate when I was there, but that wouldn't be where I got my like satisfaction of life out of. That we would still do this on the side,
and it would be
bring
great,
in
like
money that
vacation
way
income or something.
Yeah, something like that. And that I would always work 2 jobs because I was used to going to school and doing that on the side.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of thought of it as a side thing.
I think at the same time, like it's 2017, I saw how much money we were making, which was, I mean, especially a combined income for sure over 6 figures. Our expenses, I had like so many personal expenses that were not even just my expenses that I was responsible for. I was also like covering a little bit of office space and then our mortgage. And like, so I started understanding, wow, this world is very expensive. Yeah. Like, I think from my perspective, like, holy cow, like I wanted to make such a big impact that I was like, I've got to make a lot of money. Yeah. Like I didn't have those thoughts. I wanted our team to be well taken care of. I wanted you to be well taken care of. There was like, I felt like there was such a ticking time bomb of like, okay, Courtney's a freshman in college. Courtney's a sophomore in college. Courtney's a junior in college. And like, you know, what are we going to do when she graduates? And I'm like, it really like put pressure on me in a great way. I mean, hey, it worked out. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, we need to create something that would be fruitful for like a long time. That was awesome. So pretty much what I love about this like story of like the start of Maker's Gonna Learn was I started Maker's Gonna Learn in my nights. Like, you know, I would work at a little craft in your day and our brands and our clients. And then at night I would just start working on this like YouTube thing. It was so weird. I remember researching like the course-based business. I remember looking at the whole industry and I was like, okay, you really want to teach on something someone has already bought. I was like, what is something I could teach that I have already bought? oh my gosh, I started with a Cricut in 2010. What if I went back to my, like, literally, it felt like I was going, like, back home. Like, I was like, what if? I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. So I was up at late at night writing out, like, this course plan. And this is how the Lord works. Like, this is such a crazy, crazy story of, like, turning this idea and just, like, praying. And I feel like the Lord really did tell me that. And then he was like, well, let me show you what we're really going to do. So I was like, okay, I'm going to build a course on the Cricut. Okay, Lord, we're going to do that for sure. I literally planned out my curriculum. Then we went to Salt Lake City for the Snap conference. And I'll never forget, Cricut's social media manager walks up to me. She's like, hey, Tanner, like, you know, I think she had DM'd me. I don't know. Melissa's so sweet. We'd connected. She's like, hey, like, I know we're in Salt Lake City right now, but can you fly back out here in like it was literally less than a month. It was like 2 weeks from now. I can't tell you why, but it'll be definitely worth your time. And at the time, I had really coached me and Courtney both on, like, we're not working for free. And I think there's a lot of stigma about working for free in the industry and things like that. So typical Tanner would be like, no, I'm not getting on a plane, taking 4 days out of my work week to, like, for something I don't know what's concrete. Mm-hmm. But here's where it got good. This is how the Lord works. We had lost 2 of our biggest contracts literally like a few weeks before that. And I literally was like, what are we going to do? What are we doing here? Like, how am I going to eat? So I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll come to Salt Lake City. And that was the start of such a beautiful, fruitful partnership with not only Cricut Corporate, but the launch of the Cricut Maker. I remember calling Courtney and being like, they're launching a new machine and they want us to talk about it. Like, what? The code word for everyone watching. Do you remember the code word?
Some Greek word.
Athena. They would refer to the maker as Athena, Project Athena. We got Cricuts. There was 8 influencers. I met some amazing people in that program. We got the machines before Cricut's team that, like, built the machines got them, the official ones. And that's when I went all in on teaching, loving, and serving. And that's where I met many people in the beginning before Maker's Gonna Learn was even a thing, just on my YouTube channel. Like, and I remember the pivot for the channel because we cared a lot about what our channel looked like because that's what brands would look like to see if they would work with us or not. Like, if I looked like a Hot Mess Express with like 500 views on a video or 1,000 views or a live stream, like, it has to be polished. Like, I remember we had such a big emphasis on, like, being polished. Sure. So that was a big pivot of, like, there was people that didn't like the content I was posting about the Cricut. They were like, where's the regular crafts? Yeah. And I think that was just a part of the pivot. I always talk about, like, scaling down to scale up. Like,
for sure. Yeah. And you moved out of your office space at that time with that same mindset. Scale down to
scale up. I remember telling myself that every day. I'm like, we're scaling down to scale up. We're scaling down to scale up.
Otherwise, the scaling down can feel like failure.
Yeah. Which is funny because I feel like we've tried so many things. I guess technically a lot of people would see a lot of what we've done as failure. Right. But I mean, for me, it's just like, you know, that one didn't work. I
launched a whole sewing course. I think I made $150.
You've made way more than $150 with your sewing course.
You think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What would you guess?
Under, like, around 5,000 to 6,000.
Really?
I think. Yeah.
Oh, that would be news to me.
Courtney is very not
I would
financially.
still say it's a failure.
That's okay. I mean, you shot for a few days and you made some money. So I would even argue it's not a failure. Like, I'm telling you, like, I think mindset has a lot to do with it. So I'm trying to think, like, when I knew we had something, like, because we sold the course, the first Cricut course. If you guys didn't know, the night they launched the Cricut Maker, I also went ahead and launched a $27 beginner class, which was so cool. So we did the Cricut class, and then like people was like, "What's next?" So that's how Makers Gonna Learn became to be. Was people just kept continuing and being like, "Well, what class is next? What course is next?" And I was like, "Well,
they were asking for it.
yeah, they
You
were
were
asking
delivering.
it." So that's how we pivoted from a course or blog to Makers Gonna Learn.
Yeah. Overnight.
Slowly.
Well, I mean, you built it pretty fast.
Yeah,
The membership.
yeah, it was.
I mean, not overnight. But
Sure. I mean, it was a quick, like, I mean, that whole year was like
yeah, and
becoming
that's
a new
probably what
person.
made you realize that everything should be done at that pace.
Yeah. So when you were in college and like the transition was happening, like, what did you feel about it? Like, what did you feel like I was like, I don't know, like, to me, it went so fast, like, I didn't even really know what was
Yes.
happening.
I remember talking to my friend Alex, who is my photographer. And
Alex
best
is like
friend.
our best friends
Yes.
now, like her and her husband.
Still is. And it was interesting because we would meet once a week for an hour and have a photo shoot. And I mean, I was taking pictures for like 30 posts. Like,
Y'all were, and they
just-
were good pictures. And Courtney used to take her own pictures and edit them. It took her entire like life to do it.
Yeah. Anyways, so where was I going with this? Oh, so we would talk for this hour every week, and we would just talk about like life and updates, and we hung out outside of that. But that was probably the only time we hung out alone and like talked.
Yeah.
So I would tell her, like, this one week, she would maybe ask, like, what do you think you're going to do after graduation? And I remember one week I told her, and this was my genuine thought, that I would graduate, move to Morristown.
Thank God.
Me and you would live in the house with your mom. But the house, like, needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I would get some kind of job. And I guess I didn't assume you were going to get a job. You were going to hustle.
Yeah, I've got to figure it out.
I don't know when this was. So I don't know if Maker's going to learn how to start it a little bit. And I thought you were going to do that or what. And then we would, like, slowly save money to renovate the house. And then my goal was to sell that house and get maybe two separate houses or something like that.
Yeah.
But I kind of had like a Joanna Gaines vibe. Like we would buy houses and live in them while we fixed them.
I mean, I'm still game. Wow.
And that's what, and I was very happy to say that was what
we were going to do.
What our plan was or whatever. And I knew at the time that you had other aspirations, that like that wasn't what you would have wanted and been happy in necessarily.
But you were like, this is at the worst case scenario.
The worst case scenario is still pretty good.
Yeah. Sure.
So then maybe a couple months later, she would say like, what are you thinking about after graduation? And at this point I would like, we must have had started Maker's Gonna Learn before. Yeah. Because at this point, she would ask, and I'd be like, I think I'm just going to do this. Like, I don't think I'm going to get a job. She's like, oh really?
My gosh.
I'm like, yeah, I think it's, like, working out pretty good. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Because graduation was still, like, a year and a half away or 2 years
2 years away.
Something like that. And then a couple months later, she'd be like, or I would like tell her like Tanner and I are looking for a house. She's like, you're not gonna live with his mom? I was like, no, we're gonna buy our own house.
Oh my God.
We're gonna buy a nice house.
I'm gonna buy a nice house.
Like we don't even have to fix it up really.
Oh my gosh. That was
wow.
crazy.
So yeah.
Yeah.
In those conversations you can kind of see
your thoughts shifting.
And the progression of the business.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it really the first year. No. The first year was definitely not a struggle, but just a slow time. And I'll never forget, I guess it was October of 2018, you had went with me to donate bone stem cells.
Oh,
long story how I ended up being on the registry of BeTheMatch.org. Shameless plug, you should join Be The Match. 1 in 400 people get asked to donate bone stem cells or marrow.
Would be that one person.
Of course, I helped a 48-year-old male with leukemia. Anyway, we went to Greenville, South Carolina, And I think when I got back from that trip, I was like, there was just a shift. Like, there's a shift with the audience, there was a shift with the customers. And from that point, the business just unbelievably shift. Like, it felt like to me, my entire, I mean, y'all, by this time, it's 2018. I'd been online since 2010. It felt like there was just a whole new shift in the atmosphere. There was a whole new, like, overflowing of customers that we were actually helping, we were actually serving, we were actually transforming at scale. Like, that was what we wanted to do. And I mean, it was then that the business went from, like, you know, not just scraping by, but like became a fruitful, like, business. I remember our one employee went from the one team to the blog team. Yeah, I asked you if I could pretty much take her and like.
I think at first it was half and half.
Yeah,
and
we
then...
Makers Gonna Learn would pay for 50%, and then technically it was 70. Tanner's financials would pay 75%. Yours was 25 because Makers Gonna Learn at the time was only owned by me. Right. Courtney wasn't bought in. Courtney was not bought in.
But I was still working.
You were still working.
And getting a paycheck.
You were getting paid. But I mean, the equity, I mean, you got half anyway, but come on. Like, it just took the marriage. So, you know, different route, same result. I think that's funny. But yeah.
I would deliver 10 crafts a month or something like that. And all the supplies for him to make it on camera.
It's the best. Because I was live streaming every day.
And I would get mad when you cancel a live. I'd be like, I prepped that project and you're not even going to make it.
That was also the time that I committed to daily live streaming. I totally forgot. I had went... So right before we went to give the bone stem cells a few weeks before, I was watching, my friend wanted to go to the Wendy Williams show, Taylor, and he actually ended up on the show because he's super extra. And I'm sitting there, and I had no idea who Wendy Williams was. And I sat around and I said, you know what? If somebody will listen to Wendy Williams talk every single day about topics I could care less about, I know a small, defined, amazing group of people would love to craft with me every day. And that, honey, is what I did. And I committed to myself for a year.
It was 5 days a week?
5 days. Well, 6. I mean, it was up to 7 days a week. Yeah. I was live streaming from every day. Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, Craft Room, Office, you name it, I was there. I would have live stream up to 7 days a week. I felt terribly guilty if I was not live streaming, and I'd committed to myself to do that for a year. And then here's where it got interesting. The year came, it was beautiful. The results we had created was unbelievable. And I was like, what? I was like, do I commit another year? Like, what? So anyway, that is how we pretty much built Makers Gonna Learn over and over. And now, you know, we have such a great team. We bought a house. We bought another house. We got married. We sold a house. We became foster
parents. Had 4 kids.
4 kids. A very, 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 very long minute. But wow. And we're only 20. You're 25 now.
25.
You're 25. I'm 24. I'm a baby. Yeah, I feel like our next episode together will be all about our foster parent journey.
Okay, deal. I thought we were going to talk about it today, but I feel like we're reaching the end.
We are definitely reaching the end.
Yes.
So is there another part of the story that you feel like we missed out on? Like, I mean, it's such an interesting, like, our journey is so different. I tell people all the time when they first meet me, like, I'm mentally at least 35. Like, I feel like we've worked and, like, been doing this for so long that it doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Sure. I love it. I personally love
I don't think we would be where we are today at this age if we hadn't been working when we were 14 years old in the same kind of industry, because you know, we had to build a foundation. We had learned so many lessons along the way. I mean,
Do you regret working that much?
Oh no, I didn't have anything else to do.
I don't regret working.
Honestly, since we've got married, we both work way less than we did. And I think it's healthy, but
sure.
Some nights.
You're like, come on.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, even when I try to work and you're like, no, we don't work at night in our bed. I'm like, but that's what I used to do every night for 10 years.
Yeah. I got this Aura ring, and since we're watching that new show, my resting heart rate at night cannot get below 70, and on a normal night it should be 55. So my app is very confused. So we're watching a really good show right now.
About being falsely accused?
I don't know. What's the show called?
Defending Jacob.
Oh, y'all should check it out.
It's on Apple TV.
This has been so much fun. For everyone that wanted to see Courtney, what are we go see you do next?
Whatever you tell me to do.
That sounds so terrible. Oh, I love it. Well, we'll see you. I'm trying to think of the next big Makers Learn event. We'll see you at Black Friday.
I plan to make an appearance at Makeathon.
If you haven't got your ticket for Makeathon, it is happening. This podcast will be airing.
Do you know it's happening? Not this
Saturday, but next Saturday.
Will this podcast even come out?
We're hoping it launches on Monday, the 27th. I'm going to edit it.
You'll have a
I'm going to
couple
edit
days.
this like right after.
Yeah. A couple days.
Can
you edit my yawns out?
No.
Frick. Okay.
It's happening March 4th. So if you are watching in 2023, is this the year? 2023.
You got it.
On the 27th, you could hang out with us live at Makeathon. It's a virtual crafting experience.
Unlike any other.
Any other. It's amazing. You can get a ticket last minute. We have the supply list. It's going to be a great time. The supplies at the event is actually very affordable.
Yeah.
It's insane. So grab a ticket. I'll have that link down below. And Courtney, thanks for coming on. This was way better than what I thought it would be.
Me too,
honestly.
Except my yawns, but
you only yawned once.
Twice.
You've talked, I mean, if you didn't mention it, nobody would have noticed.
I feel like my face was looking a little funny.
It's okay. Well, thanks for being here. I love you.
Thank you. Love you.
See you later.
See you in the craft room in a minute.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching a Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. This has been such a fun time getting to hang out with you, and I want to make sure to let you guys know you can actually watch this podcast wherever you love to watch podcasts. So whether you want to consume it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube with an audio video podcast, we got you covered, and I want to say thank you for hanging out with us today for another episode. If you guys have any questions, be sure to let us know down below. We are always constantly looking for podcast ideas, so if you have a topic you think we should cover that me or the team would love, drop it down below. If you need anything, reach out to hi@makersgonnalearn.com. And if you have not joined our amazing crafting community, check out makersgonnalearn.com. I will leave you an amazing offer right down below to get you plugged in and get started today. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.